Hello everybody. I just wanted to say hello and show you my new PC, or at least the parts of it, and to introduce you to some of the parts anyways, and at least my idea behind it. The biggest portion of it actually is the idea. The idea is I wanted to build a system and choose a system of parts, or all the parts anyways, to have something that is upgradable and do what I wanted to do. None of this video is sponsored by anybody of any kind. This is strictly all my purchases, including a few purchases that didn't fit on this table. One being the largest one of obviously is the Corsair 1000D. This bad boy. This thing is huge. A little obsessively huge, but, and a lot of people are going to wonder right away why I chose this one, and I'll explain right now. The biggest issue is the fact that it's mainly made for people that are water cooling. I don't plan on water cooling right away. I do plan on upgrading eventually and possibly water cooling. So I wanted that option at a later date. So I spent the extra money to buy this huge, gigantic case. Yes, it's expensive. It's a very expensive case, but it was worth it. When I unboxed it, it took two of us to bring the box in the house and unbox it together. And to be honest, moving it around once everything's inside is a little intimidating, I promise you. And that's actually the hope for a later video set of building my own desk, strictly mainly for this, to hold the weight and do what I wanted to do, because I'd like to have a sit-stand desk, if possible, at least for the most part. Maybe not for the Obsidian to go up and down, but at least everything else, you know, monitor, keyboard, mouse, so I can stand up and sit down as I choose. There's a lot of parts and pieces here, and I'll explain another portion of my choice of parts and pieces, the fact that I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to, or at least is it as easy as any YouTube person out there would show on their video to build their own PC. Now, I am not a tech guy. I love tech. I'm an enthusiast. I will admit that. Have I ever had the money for it? Not truly. As I've gotten older, yes, now I do. Now it's time. Now it's time to kind of splurge on myself. We all do eventually, or at least a portion of it. But the other portion of this, or the other choices between all this, is the fact that I wanted to build something that could do what I wanted it to do, which is both video editing, gaming, because I love games also, and has the ability to be upgradable to do like massive amounts of video editing, things like that, because I also plan on doing an entire series, as I've already spoken about, or a few different series on hobbies. One of my personal hobbies is technology, computers. I love computers. I've always loved computers. And a little background here, I'll tell you right now, the last time I built a computer was in 2012. And it is now 2020. A lot of years in between. Last time it was 2 computers. I took apart a couple of PCs that were basically broken-ish, fixed them and or rebuilt them for my kids at the time. So at Christmas time they came out to 2 PCs sitting on the floor, lit up, ready to go for them. And they loved it. Now they're grown up. My youngest being soon to be 18, and she still remembers that PC coming out that Christmas morning. So this is my personal gift for myself, my Christmas present, even though it's nowhere near Christmas. In fact, it's, yeah, let's just say it's nowhere near Christmas. But this will cover me for a couple of years at this rate because of how much I've actually spent out of pocket for this. In fact, I'll be paying for it for a while. Anyways, so without further ado, let me go through some of the parts. Now I'm still getting used to YouTube, so I will post a parts list below this video. So if you're interested in any of the information for each individual part, you'll be able to look it up yourself and take a look. I will try to break this entire video series into minor videos, but not too small. I'm not going to drag you through every little part of it. I will drag you through what I believe the average layman or the average normal human being that's never built a computer or has very, very little skill at it. I want to take you through those portions. like actually connecting things, actually doing stuff. So I'll go through this one portion at a time. Now, I know it's not really good for a YouTuber to have a list, but guess what? I actually have 2 pages. So I'm going to try to go through it as easily as possible. Now, first thing that we have, obviously, is the Corsair 1000D. It is my main case. It'll be my showroom piece for my man cave, as I said in another video. I also have for my main processor, because I wanted to build this around something that's fairly high end. Obviously, I don't want to start too small, so I went fairly high end. So I did spend a pretty penny on a lot of this stuff. One, obviously, is every item I went through in here, I went through and actually looked at the reviews, actually looked at how easy it was to install, looked at various different things with them. I wanted to know, is it one of the best or is it one of the good enough? And I went as well as I could within reason. So some of the parts were a little hard to come by, and I had to choose a little bit more expensive on a few things to do it. Plus, right now, if you know, it is really hard if you're right now purchasing, you'll find out that it's really hard to find some of the parts and pieces that you actually want, whether you are buying the power supply per se, and you come up with the fact that you have to go to a higher end or go to something that won't actually work right for your system because it's so low end. And I wanted to go high end no matter what, because obviously power supply is very important. It runs the entire thing. It gives everything power. And if you don't choose the right one, of course you're going to burn out your system or do worse, or it's not going to be enough to run everything you want in it. So I chose the ASUS brand power supply. It's the Thor. It's the 1200 watt, so it's huge, but it'll be plenty. And I wanted the power curve to be high enough and efficient enough to run my whole system without having any issues. So that's why I chose this power supply. Now, I happen to like ASUS products because my other PC that I've had for several years now is an i7 Intel based, excuse me, I'm turning into an AMD fan, but it is an Intel based system, and I've had it for quite a while, and it's an ASUS computer, and it's never steered me wrong. So I wanted to stick with some of the ASUS branding as much as possible because I like ASUS products. In fact, actually my laptop, which is not ASUS, runs some of the software from ASUS, but that's a different story. Anyways, so we have the AMD Ryzen 9 3900. Now, for the price, the 3900 was actually a much better choice than the 3950, even though I originally wanted the 3950. But I couldn't justify spending an extra $300 when this one was this much close to what I really want. At a later date, when I plan on building the second system in here, this will probably be the processor that I actually use for that secondary system, because this tower, luckily, one of the reasons I chose it is you can actually build 2 systems inside. Now, once again, this is for laymen, so if you're a high-tech guy or whatever and you happen to be watching my video, don't mind me. I'm speaking to the people that are the average person about to build their own PC, so I'm trying to speak as much as possible to that level with inexperience, because even I'm inexperienced at this. So here we go. So the Ryzen 9 3900X, very nice piece processor. High remarks across the board from every reviewer I've actually heard or watched their videos or read their articles. Every product here I've actually checked out reviews on heavily, both from many other YouTubers that I won't name right now because I actually enjoy their videos as much as I hope to be similar to them someday. Do I expect to take over the tech industry and be Linus or something like that? Oops. No. I respect all of the YouTubers out there that do this, and I just hope to be something of them, you know, or at least provide my own little niche, my own little nook in the corner, you know. I went with a Crosshair 8 formula by ASUS for the motherboard. that was my choice because like I said before, I like ASUS. They haven't steered me wrong, at least when I've purchased other products in the past. Even though it's been off-the-shelf products, computers already pre-built, I haven't been steered wrong. They've done very well for me. So that's why I chose ASUS. And then I actually did search around. I almost went with a couple other different brands like MSI. I almost went with Gigabit. Yeah, I almost went with an ASRock. But after every piece here taking me days to research, days, not joking you, my girlfriend was going nuts, days to research, I finally came up with this one because two reasons. One, yes, I know it's expensive. Two, it's upgradable. If you want to use air-cool, you're welcome to do it. And that's what I'm starting with, is all air-cooled system. But you can actually use it for water cooling. You can actually connect up to this with all water cooling devices, including on the actual motherboard with water cooling. It's a no-brainer for me. So it's worth spending the extra money for this. Oh, pardon me. Now, I already explained why I got the Thor power supply, because it's 1200 watt, and anything right around 1000 or above wattage wise was hard to find. So luckily I found this. It came into on stock, on hand, at least on Amazon, and I was able to pick it up for a decent price. Now Newegg actually had it a little bit better price, but they were out of stock. So I went with what I could. Every parts and pieces you see here, for the most part, I either purchased on Amazon or Newegg. There are some pieces that will be going into this that I actually purchased elsewhere, and that is the video card, which I will be taking out of my older computer. It's not old, but it's older than this, obviously. And it's only at $250 I spent on it at a RYZEN place. They take PC parts, and if they're brand new still in the box, they just came in from a store that got the brand new stuff, you know, the $600-700 stuff, or up to $2,000 for some of it. They send all their old stuff to this place, and this place that I bought was called RYZEN. So it's a local here in the Northwest. In fact, I think that they only have like 3 stores, but they recycle stuff, PCs included in general, or all electronics, that is. So I was able to pick up a motherboard there, or excuse me, video card there for $250 that I've had in my other system now for about 1.5 years. It's been perfectly fine. In fact, it's a Radeon RX 580 8 megabyte. It'll be fine for me for right now. Would I like to go bigger? Yes. Will it be right away? No. Because the video card that I actually would like is about $1,500 right now. And it's still extremely hard to find. So it'll be down the line, because I just spent a lot of money. So anyways, to cool off this monster of a processor, by the way, because I do plan on tweaking the clocks a little bit. I don't recommend everybody do it, but I'm going to try, at least on a safe basis. I chose to go with something that was highly recommended for cooling, and this is the Corsair A500. It is a radiator cooled, using fans to cool off the processor. Really highly recommended across the board from a lot of locations, both in the tech industry in general, YouTube, you name it. I've read articles on it just to make sure. So I went with it. I said, heck with it, let's try it. Because I didn't want to go straight to water cooling. Water cooling can be very expensive. So I chose to go with air cooling. Well, I wanted to go with one of the top brands, but at the same time, I liked this design. Every video I saw, I liked this design. I kept liking it, so I chose to go with it. So it kind of goes along with my Corsair theme, but at the same time, it's going to get the job done. Now, mind you, I do plan on taking the fans off of this and changing them over to RGB, because I want some RGB in my bling system. Pardon the pun, bling. But anyways, I wanted to have a lot of fun with it and wanted some customization, so I chose to go with this also because it will work with the fans that I chose. which is Corsair's LL120s here. They'll bolt right on, no problem. I'll be good to go. Well, excuse me, they'll screw right on. Anyways, so, okay. So, I decided to go with RAM that was a little bit more than obviously 3200 speed. If you don't know the speeds on them, this is the Corsair Vengeance line. It's the 3600. Most RAM this day, the cheaper RAM, their basic RAM is 3200. The 3600 is the clock speed of the RAM itself. I chose to go with 3600 due to various recommendations. So I am going with a 32 gig because that's about all I really need, honestly. And it's double what I actually have in my current system in the other room. And came with a kind of a decent cooler. We'll see. I'm not worried about the cooler so much as I was wanting the RAM. I was kind of happy that they sent me the one with the cooler when I ordered it, because I didn't think I ordered the one with the cooler, but they sent it anyways. I might use it, I might not. We'll see in a different video when I get there. Now, when you're talking about hard drive space which is your storage space, for anybody that doesn't know or doesn't understand, you usually think of hard drives. Now, I will be transferring over an older 4 terabyte hard drive I have in my other computer to this one. That way I can transfer files along with it and be good to go. This has plenty of room for hard drives, both regular hard drives and SSDs, or solid state drives. I do have a solid state drive that's actually still being shipped to me right now, but that's a different story. Hopefully it'll be here by the time I go to get that installed in here, or I'll do a separate video to install it real quick. But I did choose to go with NVMe 4.0 M.2s. And I wanted to go with a little bit more space right away, so I chose to do 2 different kinds. One that's going to be my main unit for running my operating system, and which is going to be Windows. But anyways, it's Windows. It works. But I also wanted something that's fast enough to run games, but big enough to run games. So I got with 1 terabyte to start with, and then I chose to do another one. Since this motherboard is perfectly fine fitting 2, I went with a second one of 1 terabyte. Western Digital, highly recommended also for the price. It's great. Both of these units, actually, this was very expensive, but highly recommended. I went with it as my main. This will be backup, this will be storage with some other games on it, because I do game. So I wanted speed, but at the same time, I wanted reliability built in. I didn't want to have to hook up a whole bunch of stuff. This will be part of the main install. It'll be good to go. And hopefully we're good to go with space too, because it's only 2 terabytes. And to be honest, some of the games nowadays are huge, and I like to game. So we'll see if it fits my games or not. If not, I'll have the other space with the other SSD that's on order, and I'll have the other hard drive that I'm moving over to this system. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into all the fans, but since this case is so huge, I wanted to make sure that I chose the right fans for myself, but at the same time, I didn't want to skimp out. So I did go the expensive route, and I know some people are going, why build a system for yourself and spend all that money? Well, it's my flagship. It's my personal computer, and I'm going to spend the money how I want. It's my money, right? So anyways, I went with the Corsair LL120s for the majority of the case fans, of course. And now the very top in this case, once I get to that, you'll understand why I chose another variant here. It's the 140 by Corsair, obviously, but it's the AF series Quiet Edition. They're 140 millimeter fans for the top in here. There's a rack. If you do the reviews or take a look at any videos on this case, you'll realize that it's got 2 different racks for fans. One in the front that fits up to 8, unless you're doing water cooling, and then theoretically you could go a lot more. And the rack on the top that comes stock, which you can buy alternate racks from Corsair, by the way, they do sell them. I did look into it. I chose not to go that route. In fact, I chose to go with these quiet fans right here. They're AF 140s for the top rack, and it fits 3 of them. So I wanted as much airflow that I possibly could since I plan on air cooling this PC anyways, I might as well start right off the bat with going decent, or at least top of the line, or as close as possible. Plus, who's going to go wrong with this much RGB? We'll see. Probably me. So in a nutshell, I mean, theoretically I could go into a lot more. I couldn't fit my monitor that I have, which is an older monitor, a few years older. It's not too bad. It's actually by ASUS monitor also. It's a, excuse me. It's a 27-inch ASUS MX279H. LCD, does 1080p, it's 5 millisecond response time, which is pretty good for gamers. At least it hasn't done me wrong. I've actually missed it since my other computer right now is actually connected to the big screen TV for watching various things. Anyways, YouTube, Hulu, you name it, they're all there. I like to play around on my computer and play video games on my big screen. Is it the best monitor in the world? No. Does it hurt your eyes after a while? Sometimes. But it's fun watching it on 65 inches or 55 inches that I have in there. I think it's 55 inches. It's big. Sometimes I look at it and tell my girlfriend I want the bigger one, the 80-inch. We'll see. At this rate, it's going to be a while before I can afford that. So all in all, I'm going to be bringing a mouse I have that I use on my laptop because I don't really like the touchpad that much because I got big fat fingers, which is going to make it really fun to build in this, by the way, because big fat fingers in the little tiny spaces, which ironically this case doesn't have that many of, which is another reason why I chose to go big, because I got big fat hands. I'm a big guy. I'm 5'10", but I weigh enough, and I wanted to go big because it reflects me. Big and flashy. And if you happen to know me, I happen to be a quiet guy, but I can be flashy sometimes too, and have fun. Why not? I like to make people laugh, and that's what I'm here to do. And as a tech enthusiast, as one of my hobbies, speaking of which, I didn't even plug my own channel. Hi, this is DIY Dare to Hobby. I'm gonna have to get used to that. So I'll go through this, and I'm not gonna talk about too many of the pricings here because that would just get into a lot of information. As for the processor, the biggest issue with that one was it's not the one I originally wanted, but it's definitely not a second-hand one. Still brand new, still a great processor. It was my original first choice. Then I was pushing myself to try to buy the other one, but I couldn't justify the $300. The big price difference. Now, mind you, you get a good step up. Is it the step up I really needed? No. So I had to make the judgment call and go, okay, I was spending enough money, and when I was making my list and checking it twice, and a few things decided to get cut off or dropped to a different brand or dropped in price on a different style. So I went with, obviously, the Ryzen 9 3900X. I'll just go through this list for you. I already spoke about the Corsair A500 high performance dual fan CPU cooler, which I will be replacing the two fans with this. The other two fans that are on here will be held for backup, because since I'm not spending a lot more money, they'll be held for either I'll put in one of the kids' PCs here, or I'll use them as backup in case one of these RGB fans goes out and I want to replace it right away until I can order more, because those are not cheap. This 3-pack is not cheap, but I also don't want any performance issues. So the two fans that are on this will be backup, and they're really high quality fans. So as backup, they'll be boxed up and set aside carefully. I'll be good to go in case of an emergency, but I doubt I'll see an emergency anytime soon, considering these are such high quality. I went with the ASUS, or for the motherboard, I went with the ASUS ROG, or Republics of Gamers, Crosshair 8 Formula AMD X570. I wanted all the functionality of it. It had everything I wanted and more for upgradability. It was hands down a winner, even though it was so expensive, but it was worth it. Hopefully, we'll see as I build this. And as throughout the next few videos, you'll be watching me build this. I might do some time lapse, I might not, we'll see. Still playing with the videos myself. As much as a tech guy as I am, and a computer guy as I am, I'm not much of a video editor, as you can tell from that first video when you saw me clap, which I've had a few comments from friends about. They're like, what's that for? I'm like, well, that was kind of like my whole cut in, you know, but whatever. I chose to leave it for the fun of it. So, anyways. For the RAM, as I said, it was 32 gigabytes, a Corsair Vengeance series. I did look around for RGB possibilities. Then I thought, you know, for the price increase, I got this 32 gigs that were just phenomenally fast for what I originally expected. Why spend an extra couple $100 on something that had RGB on it? I couldn't justify it to myself, so I chose not to go that route. This setup is as expensive as is. I had to trim some fat here and there, you know, and not on me, even though I might not be eating very well for a while, I tell you that much, if I have to pay for it. And the ASUS Thor, ROG Thor, 1200 watt, fully modular, RGB included, but ironically with this case you won't really see it. I might do a custom video later where I get to actually cut out a little part on the case cover so you can see the wattage. I'd like to know what it's actually putting out while I'm doing it. I'm sure there's actually some software involved in that I could probably just see just fine, but I wouldn't mind, like, you know, on the fly looking over and just seeing it. So we'll see. That might be a later video also. A little customization of the 1000D. And I've also thought of possibly taking some of the glass panels and maybe doing some etching. And that will go with some of the crafting and the hobby work that I plan on doing. So we'll see. As for the case fans, we have the three top fans are Corsair Air Series AF 140s. There's 3 of them. I have 12 Corsair LL Series, which with a dual light loop RGB LEDs. Now, if you heard that, dual light loop, which means that there's RGB on the inside and on the exterior. So there's plenty of RGB just in the fans. I might put some strips in later, we'll see, which are different little light strips that you can either peel and stick down or magnetic, things like that. I've looked into a couple of them. Did I want them right away? Nah, I can wait. But that's why this is such a nice system, because I plan on actually doing upgrades, and I'll bring you along for the ride. Set up in a whole nother series when I go to upgrade. I would love to eventually go to a Threadripper system. Am I going to do that anytime soon? No, because we're talking about this times 2, basically cost-wise. The Threadrippers, I couldn't justify the cost for it, even though I really wanted to. I couldn't justify it to myself. And when you can't justify the cost to yourself, then you really have to think about it twice. There's a lot of people in the world that, this day and age, that just throw away money. Now, mind you, honestly, I look at this, do I have buyer's regret? A little bit, but honestly, no. I don't think I'll have buyer's regret here. As much as some of these things cost more than the average, because when this case first came out a couple years ago now, 2018, it was 500 bucks. Some people were saying 450. Did I spend that? No, I spent a lot more than that. I spent almost $600 after shipping and handling and everything to get it to me. but it was also kind of hard to find. I found it on Amazon, luckily. All the major retailers that were reputable didn't have it in stock, because it's actually a really good system and it's hard to come by. So it was something that I had to choose to, okay, do I go with a smaller basic system that's not going to fit my hands very well? I'm not a small guy. Will it have the upgradability that I want? No, it didn't. None of the other systems really had it, what I wanted. Plus, I really liked the looks of this and the design. Of every video I've watched on it, I had to say I liked it every time. So hands down, I decided to spend the money. So that's why I went with this case. But it does take a hell of a lot of fans to really make this thing look full. So hence 3 140s, 12 120s, and that much RGB. I couldn't justify putting the RGB on top just yet because the cost wasn't there for me. So the top won't have a whole bunch of RGB. It'll look dark when I'm all done. I know this, except for the very front, which is fine. There'll be a little bit of lights on here. There's some other stuff that'll really highlight on this, which is perfectly fine. I'm not using the stock cooler. The fans on this will have RGB, so it'll have some RGB in the middle, right above the motherboard. I think I'll have plenty of RGB to begin with. Was it one of my main concerns? No. Honestly, my main concern was functionality for now. Yeah, I went a little overboard on some of that, but I wanted upgradability. And that's where my research really followed me. And eventually going to water cool. And this system is perfect for water cooling, at least what I have planned in the future. So hopefully I can get to that point financially, and I'll show you guys as I go. We'll have a lot of fun with it. We have an SSD on the way. It's also a 2 terabyte SSD. There is plenty of room for adding more storage in this case, so I can buy more SSDs as they come available, or buy cheaper if I even really wanted to. There are actually some really nice ones that are pretty cheap right now. Western Digital does an SSD for about 50 bucks, give or take. You can get it on Newegg.com, or you can get it on Amazon.com at decent prices. I would recommend going with decent brands, no matter how you look at it. You pay for what you get, right? So, and I chose to go with an RGB Republic's a Gamer keyboard because I really wanted to have a keyboard that wasn't a old-fashioned off-white one that still has so much dust down there that I can't tell you how much is over there because I'm looking at it right now. It's very old. I don't even think I'd have to use an adapter plug it to use it on this. I'm not using that. Sorry, I just refuse to. So I chose to go with a brand new ASUS Strix Scope. Kind of falls along with the whole Republic's of Gamers, which, yeah, do you really need something that says gaming? No. If you watch all the good YouTubers, at least when it comes to tech items or computers in general, they'll all tell you anything that says gaming on it is a sham. It's a way to just bump up the price and get your attention. Do you really need anything that says gaming? No, you can buy some of the most comparable stuff at hundreds of dollars less even, and do your research. That's all it really comes down to, is just do your research. I didn't need to spend the money on something that said gaming on everything. Wait, it kind of does. Oh well, let's have fun with it anyways, right? Hence why I'm kind of splurging on myself. Now, as for the mouse, it's actually a Jinsun rechargeable laptop wireless gaming mouse. 2-in-1 wireless. It'll charge up. I can unhook it if I want to. I'm just going to use the one off my laptop. If I plan on taking my laptop someplace, I'll be able to unhook it from this, take it with me, and go and have fun if I want and come back. That was my choice. Will I buy a mouse later for this, specifically for this system? Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I wouldn't mind trying out some of the Corsair's options. Even ASUS has some really nice options. I wouldn't mind sticking with those, but there's other brands out there that are actually really nice too. And once again, this is not a sponsored video, so this is personal choices. I looked at every single item here and chose these items. So it's just a matter of choice. And also wanted to figure out what the cost would be. Now, since I did buy the monitor before, several years ago when it first came out, it was still fairly new. So it's still got a little dust in the back over there. We're in storage, but I'm going to pull it out perfectly, or works perfectly just fine. And my mouse has already been bought and paid for at 25 bucks on Amazon, which goes right along with my Prime account just fine. So this cost is a little awkward, and I also still have an SSD that's on the way, like I said. So the total cost of my system is over $4,500. Is your typical PC a $4,500 PC? No. But this is my personal PC, built for upgradability to what I want in the future, which is water-cooled, RGB, big enough to fit a Threadripper in here. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So, and possibly build a second PC at the bottom, which, to be honest, if I do the Threadripper at the top for like my video editing and all that, and even hooking up maybe a game system to that, then I could actually use the bottom for a storage setup, for a RAID setup, which I've debated about doing. That's all down the line. We'll see as we go. But that's one of the reasons why I chose every part here, how it is. If you like my video, let me know. If you have any comments or questions, feel free. I'll do my best to answer them as much as possible. Like I said, I will put this whole entire list up underneath my video here. Let me know. I'll try to add it into the next video, or I'll answer it the best I can right away. And we'll see what we can come up with together. I hope you have a lot of fun following me. If you happen to like this and want to see where I go, follow, subscribe. I just want to have fun. I want to bring you along for the ride. So we'll see how far we can get. Have a good day. Bye-bye.